Hey guys, it's Amber Athey from Unfit to Print, and we have to talk about the white guilt that has befallen one of the co-creators of the 90s sitcom Friends. Now, I don't know where you guys stand on the Friends versus Seinfeld debate. I'm very pro Seinfeld. I think Friends is mildly entertaining, kind of an easy watch if you're looking for something kind of light and low-key. But overall, probably not very funny, not nearly as funny as Seinfeld. But all of that needs to be pushed aside for a moment because the co-creator of Friends, Marta Kauffman, is on a crazy apology tour to the woke mob right now. If you guys aren't familiar with the situation, basically for the past few years, the woke left has been complaining that the show Friends is problematic. And of course, that's one of their favorite words, problematic. They call just about anything and everything to the right of Stalin problematic. But they decided that Friends is problematic for a couple of reasons. First of all, they say that Friends does not have enough diversity because the 6 main cast members are all white. We have Phoebe, Rachel, Monica, Chandler, Joey, Ross. All 6 of them are white. There are, of course, people of color who pop up throughout the series. One of Ross's long-term girlfriends is a black woman. She dates Joey at one point too, but that is not enough for the woke left. You're not allowed to have 6 white people in one TV show. That is racist. They also complained that the show is apparently transphobic because of the way it treats Charles Bing, who is Chandler Bing's father, who comes out as gay, leaves his wife, and starts performing as a drag queen. So Marta Kauffman apparently didn't really like these criticisms at first, thought they were baseless, but then George Floyd died. And so she had to do some self-reflection. And the white guilt really started to kick in. So she said that after what happened to George Floyd, I began to wrestle with my having bought into systemic racism in ways I was never aware of. This is what she said in an interview with the Los Angeles Times. That was really the moment that I began to examine the ways I had participated. I knew then I needed to course correct. So apparently, Derek Chauvin putting his knee on the neck of George Floyd until he died is exactly the same as a woman writing a sitcom in the 90s that didn't have enough black people on it. That's a really great comparison to make for yourself, Marta Kauffman, but she goes on to apologize for the lack of diversity in the show and also apologizes specifically for the transphobia or alleged transphobia, saying, quote, "We kept referring to Chandler's transgender parent as Chandler's father, even though Chandler's father was trans. Pronouns were not yet something that I understood, so we didn't refer to that character as she. That was a mistake." Now, if you guys go on YouTube and you actually search for the videos of scenes with Charles Bing, you'll see what I'm talking about, but it's not clear at all whether or not the character is actually transgender or if it's just a gay man dressing in drag. And the series itself blurs that line pretty consistently. So the character still goes by Charles in their day-to-day life, even though he is dressed up as a woman and performs in drag under the character name Helena Handbasket. But apparently this character was supposed to be trans, and Marta Kauffman is so very sorry that she misgendered this fictional character, and also that she cast a biological woman rather than a trans person to play the character. I think it's really weird that these people feel like they constantly have to apologize for things that happened decades ago based on the standards of 2022. And even now, those standards are not set in stone. I mean, we're going by like the insane left wokeness standards in 2022, and yet Marta Kauffman feels like she was supposed to live up to those standards all the way back when the show premiered in 1994. It's obviously unrealistic and it's unhealthy because you can't have a society that progresses and grows if you're constantly calling on people to grovel and beg for forgiveness if 20, 30 years ago they did something that isn't quite perfect by the woke left standards. And if you actually watch the full progression of Charles Bing's character in the show, it's actually a story of acceptance. There are a few gags at Charles Bing's expense, a few transgender jokes, but overall, the message of the story is that Chandler Bing, despite not understanding his father's lifestyle and being angry at him for leaving his family behind, eventually comes to have a decent relationship and level of tolerance for his father, and even invites his father to his wedding and allows him to walk him alongside his mother down the aisle. So it's obviously a message about treating people with kindness, even if you don't understand or necessarily agree with their lifestyle, which, if anything, is totally in line with what should be today's moral standards, and yet it's still not enough for the woke left. What's really sad is that Marta is the only main creator of Friends that feels the need to constantly apologize for the show. Another Friends co-creator, the executive producer Kevin Bright, actually pushed back on these claims that the show is not diverse enough, saying, "I would have been insane not to hire those 6 actors. What can I say? I wish Lisa was black. I've loved this cast, I love the show, and I love the experience." Which is totally reasonable, because part of the reason that Friends was so successful is because of the chemistry among the main characters. So if you start playing this game of, well, I wish I would have cast this person, or I wish we would have made sure that this character was Latinx, or that this character was black, then all of a sudden you actually change what fundamentally made the show a really enjoyable viewing experience for people who are watching it. And Aisha Tyler, who was actually the aforementioned actress who played the black girlfriend to Joey and Ross, similarly gave a pretty nuanced take of the situation. She said, "The role wasn't written as a woman of color, and when I auditioned, I read against women of every ethnic background. They didn't make it into a very special episode of Friends, where the friends suddenly confront issues of race. I was just a character on the show with her own appeal and quirks and foibles, and I think that's why it worked so well." And isn't that how we should be casting various people from different backgrounds into shows? Why does every character have to be shoehorned into this progressive woke narrative? Can't people just exist and be a different race? I don't know why the left feels like hammering people over the head with these woke narratives is actually helpful to advancing their cause. Really, it ends up turning viewers off because they don't like these political lectures in their content. That's why this new show, The Terminal List, with Chris Pratt, is performing so well. Of course, the critics naturally hate it. Yellowstone is super popular because of this. Better Call Saul, recent non-woke show that's final episodes are coming out on July 11th, so in just a couple of days. These all capture huge audiences because they don't ram this stuff down your throat, and they feel more authentic as a result. I think the biggest thing that bothers me, though, about the Friends criticism is the idea that just because there are 6 main cast members, that is somehow bad. I don't think that it should be innately bad that white people exist together. I mean, they're basically saying that it's not good enough for 6 white people to be friends. You're not allowed to have 6 white people be friends with each other. Of course, they would never say the same thing about an all-black sitcom, of which there were many during the same time period. I mean, in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, there's actually an entire episode where they talk about the fact that Aunt Janice brings home a white boyfriend, and the entire family is shocked when she comes home with him. But the episode is all about them actually overcoming their prejudices and eventually coming to accept the fact that she has this white boyfriend. So I think that's a totally reasonable storyline. And even though the show itself overall has a mostly all-black cast, they were able to show the characters growing and becoming better and challenging some of their own prejudices. And yet, when we're talking about Friends or other shows with an all-white cast, those characters are somehow not allowed to have that same opportunity. And I think that does a huge disservice to the viewers and to society at whole, because our entertainment should reflect our values, and our values should allow our ability to grow, to forgive people, to change our attitudes towards society. And yet, if we are always looking at things through the lens of this exact moment and our standards at this exact moment, then you don't allow the grace and the forgiveness for people to be able to change. And just like with these diversity trainings in corporations and in colleges, you actually only set people further into their ways, because they have a level of resentment when you're constantly trying to tell them that they're bad or they should feel guilty. So it really upsets me that Marta Kauffman went on this apology tour for this show. There's no reason for her to apologize. The show is fine, besides, again, not being all that funny. It's perfectly entertaining. It's not racist. None of the characters are apparently racist. Their only crime was having too many white people, which shouldn't be a crime in and of itself. The majority of the population is white. Get over it. But I gave you guys a couple of non-woke shows to check out. Terminal List, Yellowstone, Better Call Saul, all great options, because apparently we can't even have the classics anymore without suddenly having to feel bad for enjoying them. How sad.